Hello, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to the channel again. And in this, I'm talking about. In this, I'm going to be talking about whether there's going to be an early election next year. Of course, the United Kingdom's had an early election in 2017, only 2 years after the previous one, and in 2019, only 2.5 years after the previous one. So you think the United Kingdom's a bit fed up of early Westminster elections. So it has to be by the end of January 2025. A lot of people have penciled in from December 2024. And rumors are buzzing around the Westminster Village that actually it's going to be May 2024. Elections are often held in May. Another thing about elections in the United Kingdom is they're always held on a Thursday. Westminster elections, Holyrood elections, Welsh parliamentary elections, Stormont elections, local elections, referenda, by-elections, it's always a Thursday. But it doesn't have to be May, but it has been made quite a lot. This December election last time was the first winter election since, goodness, I suppose, 1974, that October. And they think that the foul weather appeals to Conservatives are more highly motivated to vote. Now, that advantage has been negated somewhat, well, considerably, because, of course, postal voting since 2001, anybody can post or vote. Previously, you had to have a good reason why you wish to vote by post rather than in person. Now, the Conservatives are well behind the polls, about 20 percentage points behind in the polls. Keir Starmer setting out his stall. He's reshuffled the Labour cabinet, brought in a lot more Blairites, but he's not offering a terribly hopeful message, not saying the things that can get us significantly better under Labour. And he's been perhaps too frank for his own good. And it's true because, that there's not much more in the piggy bank. How much more can you borrow? The United Kingdom is incredibly indebted. But there has been some rosy news for the Conservative Party. Economic growth is a bit better than expected. Inflation has come down. It's 8%. It's coming down. So there's every incentive for the Conservatives to leave it as long as possible to hope that these improvements will continue. What would be a realistic expectation, inflation down to 6% by December next year. That's still bad, but just not as bad as it is at the moment. That they might finally make some progress to stop the boats that are under plan, otherwise have to come up with an alternative plan. And I'm not sure what else. And leave a chance for Labour to foul its own nest. I'm not sure how they're going to be hoisted on their own petard this time. What could go wrong for them? A huge scandal. Starmer caught in bed with a goat will probably be the most exciting thing he's done. He's seen as an incredibly dull man. So Blair, he is not. The SNP could get a bit stronger to prevent Labour getting so many seats in Scotland. Somehow Conservatives slip through the middle. I'm not sure what could go right for the Conservatives. I cannot see how the NHS is going to make any improvement. There might be fewer strikes, something like that. So there's every incentive for the Conservatives to leave at the last possible minute, as they're so far behind in the polls. Where they're going to be in May next year, probably slightly further behind than they are now. But in the last few months of a government, the government tends to claw back support as people look at the manifesto of the opposition parties, scrutinize those and decide they're actually even more unappetizing than the current government. So better the devil you know. That's why I think it's improbable the Conservatives will opt to go early. They say turkeys don't vote for Christmas. And there are also some problems on the horizon right now, like this school building scandal. So back in 2020, when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor of the Exchequer, they had to choose to pare back things because the United Kingdom borrowed an eye-watering sum of money to keep the economy afloat, and something had to go. They had to trim costs, and on school building maintenance, they cut back. But they said there's a lot of unsafe concrete. They don't want masonry falling on children's heads, killing them. So about 5% of the schools in England certainly have to close some or all of their buildings, use porta cabins. This could be going on for months. And he's been savage. But, what was he to do? Where were they to cut back? Okay, they say, well, don't cut back there. All right, what are you going to cut back? Benefits? Defense has been cut and cut and cut for decades. Can't be cut anymore. So people say it was his fault when he was Chancellor Exchequer, and like Birmingham has declared itself effectively bankrupt. Legally, a city council can't be bankrupt, but as close to bankrupt as they can be in the non-legal sense, and obviously be asking His Majesty's government for a bailout. They might say, we're going to have to stew in your own juice. You're going to have to sort it out. You're already subsidised by central government, and if we help you out, we have to help others out. Thurrock and is it Croydon and other all Labour-controlled councils actually have made the same move in the last few years, and it won't encourage parsimony, which is what we want, or responsibility, make them even more profligate if they believe well, we can spend like crazy, and Whitehall will come and give us a dig out. We're not going to do it because that penalizes the responsible for helping the irresponsible. And there are more popular conservative policies coming down the line saying 5 million people on disability benefit. 5 million people is more than double as many as we had in the 60s, and the population was only slightly lower then. And bear in mind, in the 60s, people often did physically demanding jobs as factory workers, as farm labourers, as construction workers, as coal miners in the shipyards, far more than they do now. Back then, when the UK still had 200,000 miners, as opposed to about 2,000 now. So yes, there are physically demanding jobs these days, but not very many. A few in construction. There's hardly any manufacturing. Very few agricultural labourers. Very few shipyard workers, and there are almost no miners. Um, and so, how are we more physically unfit because they got anxiety or depression or whatever? And all right, these conditions exist, but people could be faking them, describing the symptoms. People say they're just layabouts. They just want a handout. And why on earth should you be paying for them? I'm paying so much in tax, cannot afford to pay more. And obviously, it's galling to think that so much is squandered on people who are completely undeserving, on arts grants, on people going to university who shouldn't go to university at all, who've got no desire to study, who've got no aptitude, who may drop out, who may fail, who've got dreadful A levels and things like that, who just lays about hardly taught. Because the government says that at least a third of the fees will never be repaid. Remember, the government will pay your fee up front and you need to pay it back, but only when you start earning is at 24 grand a year, and only at a certain rate, very low interest for 25 years, and then it's written off of anything that's not paid back. So the Conservative government needs to get a grip, and obviously done the wrong thing. Is they've expanded university numbers. 55% of young people go to university. 55%. So the majority, even if you completely bomb out in school, get no A levels at all, some schools, some universities will still take you. Um, so the Conservatives need to do a lot better. They think they could, on cultural war issues, wedge issues like the trans issue, they can appeal to common sense of the majority, that a man who pretends to be a man is not actually, a man who pretends to be a woman is not a woman, and a man who claims to be a woman is not a man. A woman who claims to be a man isn't actually male, and so on. So we don't have to go by self-definition. There is such a thing as truth, and there's such a thing as lying. And if somebody lies, I do not have to go along with that lie and pretend that a lie is the truth. I know that'd be shocking to some people. Women and pregnant people, are you having a laugh? Only women can be pregnant. I mean, are you stupid? Do you not know what a woman is? That like basic biology is now bigoted or something like that. It's just preposterous. I'm staggered that we're wasting time, and obviously so much public service time is wasted. Why can't the police investigate burglaries and stuff because they're too busy going on racial sensitivity courses? I mean, not this bad to be racially sensitive, but honestly, the main purpose of the police is to enforce the law, to deter and to detect crime, and not to be shock troops of the far left, to be politically correct warriors. All right. Well, thank you for watching my channel. So please donate on PayPal and subscribe on Patreon. Goodbye.